All right, what time are we at?
11:06, it's time to do it.
Okay.
No. Felipe.
Doesn't look like it. We have quite a few on today though. We got 23, so that puts us at 21.
Okay, well, now we're at how much money, Jackie?
That was 180, so next week will be 200.
200 next week, 200. Yeah. Yeah. Jackie, are we gonna offend anybody if we talk about flip situation? Huh?
How bad, you know. Because mind you, they do good quality, so all of our photos.
Okay, so good morning, and I was just asking Jackie if I'm gonna offend anybody with this next subject I'm gonna bring up, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but here we go. Yeah, we're not singling anyone out, and so it comes down to my opinion of flips. And there's all different calibers of flips, right? I've done flips myself. I know some of our agents do flips. I'm not pointing anybody out, but I just want agents to be very careful about what you're doing. So I'm going to give you an example of what's just happened with me. Well, we've got some other stuff going on with flips that's
Too many.
But what is in the middle of this, I made an offer on one, and as I'm showing this property, I noticed there's no vents. There's no window ACs. There's no AC, no heating, nothing. So I'm like, this is odd. So I call the agent. Yeah, well, they're gonna install one prior to close, right? So this is where you gotta be careful. So I said, okay, we're gonna install one prior to close. I said, well, okay, and so I wrote the offer asking for the new HVAC system to be installed. And then they counter back with, it's gently used.
Gotta go. Get out. You gotta go. You're not allowed in here anymore. Get out of here now. Now.
What is that?
I don't know. Ulysses is kicking someone out from Domino's. What is that? Well, Ulysses at home. I wonder if Nope. She's not a fake loser. Hey, Yuli, do you need help?
Is everything okay?
Open the door in the seat.
Maybe he was just talking to one of his kids. So anyway, they counter back, it's going to be a gently used unit. So this is my first question. Why would somebody take a working AC heating unit off of a house if it's okay? Right? Unless they were just fanatical about things and they wanted a brand new unit. But how often does that happen? So this is what I go to my client and I let him know it's used. And so we ended up countering back. And this is how I countered it. That we were giving them 7 days to install the system. No EMD would go to escrow. No inspection periods would start. Appraisal would not be paid for, nor would a home inspection be paid for until that unit was installed and we could test it. Okay. So it was installed over the weekend. And Tam went out yesterday and checked it. The wire that they used to install it was too small and didn't have a ground. He said it could catch on fire just like that. And there's oil leaking from the evaporator coils. So he says there's problems with the evaporator coils. So I called back and said, okay, there's issues. And here it is written up. I sent it to him. Now this listing agent is a material fact. You have to disclose this. And I told, if you want us to go forward, my buyer will accept it as long as my guy does the repairs, which could be $3,000 to $4,000. It's probably going to fall apart, right? So my point is, we're all selling flips and there's good ones and bad ones. And, you know, the margins I think are getting smaller. And so they're starting to do some crazy stuff, cutting corners. It's okay to sell them. Just make sure your people are getting inspections and be very careful with your buyer's money. That's all. Cause I was like, "Oh, I knew it. I just knew it. Why would somebody remove a good AC?
How would you spend the money?
You wouldn't, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Unless maybe somebody had lots of money and they were remodeling a house and they're like, hey, we're putting in all new windows. We're gonna put in a new AC at this point, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. So anyway, that's that. That-
Where my brain went.
Yeah. So that's my spiel of,
They went to the new constructions and stole it and then put it on.
it wasn't even new though. That's the thing. If they had stolen it from new construction, it would have been new. It isn't new. It's used. It's old. Golly.
So sound like he actually got security at their new constructions.
Well, yeah, because they're stealing all the copper, all the wiring, all the metal. They're stealing all that stuff.
But Smee hasn't gotten security yet.
Yeah, Smee. So Smee, I was out there, oh my God, this leads to another story. So I was out there selling Smee and we're doing the final walkthrough and the superintendent, my client is a single gal, right? Single young gal. He goes, do you have a security system? And she goes, well, no. And he goes, well, you better get one because they steal us blind out here. And I am going like this. Shut up. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it's me selling. They steal all the wiring. They take all the wiring from the tankless water heater, and I'm thinking to myself, if she doesn't back out now, she didn't, but yeah, so they are stealing from them out there.
I would have.
Oh, I wanted to.
Office, but hey.
Oh, I did. I called the sales office and said, hey, you gotta, yeah, you gotta put,
Exactly, let's
Yeah.
see that muzzle.
Yeah.
Not borrowing.
okay, so today we're gonna talk about exactly what to say for real estate agents. We already went over this once, but it was pretty helpful and everybody liked it and it was kind of fun and it was kind of cool of be interactive here so that we have ways we can talk about how you would use these particular phrases. And then it says the worst time to think about the thing you are going to say is in the moment you are saying it. This book prepares you for nearly every known eventuality and provides you with a fair advantage in almost every conversation. So it's like scripts and it's knowing the right thing to say to people. So I went through, what's the first one, Jackie? Next one, Jackie, we're past that. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is, and I'm sorry, I had my book all marked up and I left my book at home. So I'm not sure if it's for you, but so one of the most common reasons I hear from people as to why they fail to introduce themselves, a property or their service to others is the fact that they are fearful of rejection. So if you come at it like, I'm not sure if this is for you, but it's very offhand. It's not like, oh, this is for you. You're the rejection. It's already kind of putting that room for them to say, oh no, that's not exactly what we're looking for. This one, it gives them, it gets rid of that rejection. It's very kind of a subtle way of doing it. When you say to somebody, I'm not sure if it's for you, but the little voice inside your listener's head hears, you might want to look at this. And it's a very non-salesy way to do that with somebody. And then he says, the real magic though is delivered through the final 3-letter word of this sequence, a word that typically should be avoided in all conversations, the word but. So when you put that in, so here are a few examples. I'm not sure if it's for you, but when the time is right, I would be delighted to help you get the best price for your home. I'm not sure if it's for you, but there is an open house on Saturday and you're welcome to join us. It's just very subtle way to say to people, I'm not sure if it's for you, but I'm thinking of you, but you might want to, stop by. I'm not sure if it's for you, but I checked out the Zestimate on your home and found a few errors. So they were I don't know if I'd say that one, but yeah. The rejection-free approach creates a simple outcome. One of two things happens. Your listener leans in and asks for more information because they are personally interested, or in the very, very worst case scenario, they say they will give it some thought whilst memory pegging the conversation to recall it at a later date. Okay, Jackie, next one. Who do you know? Okay, so the trouble with real estate is the fact that almost everybody is a prospect, which is true. We all need to live somewhere, and renting, buying, selling, leasing, or investing are things that appear as requirements in most people's lives. This fact can easily result in a new realtor becoming annoying to almost everyone they meet by projecting their ability to help in every conversation. So he's saying, instead of going to people and saying, Gus, oh, do you want to sell? Do you want to buy? Do you know, like going directly to the person, ask that person if they know somebody who wants to. Like, instead shift the direct ask away from the person you're speaking with and towards the third person who you currently do not know. And I think that's easier conversation anyway for an agent, right? Instead of saying, oh, Jim, do you want to sell your house? Like, oh, yeah, I'm licensed. Do you know of anybody? Takes instead of them having to say, no, I don't want to. Everybody wants to refer and everybody wants to be the hero. Oh, my brother-in-law is looking. So who do you know that is considering moving to the area? Who do you know that is thinking of moving to the city? Who do you know that may be looking for more or less space? Who do you know that could be interested in an evaluation of their current home? Who do you know that has talked about potentially investing in real estate? Who do you know that could be interested in this 3-bedroom townhouse? Does anybody use that? Has anybody ever done that? Yeah. How about in marketing? I mean, could we use it in marketing?
I use it in sync sometimes.
Yeah, right? Who do you know? I love referrals. It's just a different way of asking for referrals, right? This is, yeah, same thing. It's, and you're gonna use these phrases that are the way you speak, right? I mean, who do you know? You may be like, oh, do you know anybody? And some agents I know will ask the primary person, if they say no, well, do you know anybody? It's just so important to ask for the referrals, and it's just a subtle way to do it. Any other way we could use that? Marketing?
So I tend to use it more like when I'm trying to like get a referral to something, like when I'm trying to find someone, like if we were trying to find another home inspector, like I
Right,
ask, like how
right.
we tend to ask each other, who do you use for home inspections? Who do you use for pests? Like I tend to use it in that form more often.
And how smart is that? Because aren't we trying to build up a list of vendors that we could use? I mean, everybody wants to feel important. So what if you are reaching out to your clients? What if that is a touch that you're doing to your clients? Like, hey, I'm trying to build my vendor list. Who do you know that you could refer me to that does work? Like, I think that's and then they feel good because they can call that person, or when you call that plumber, you could say, hey, Gus told me to give you a call. Everybody, it's kind of a feel-good situation along the way. So I think you can use it for vendors too.
And it was part of one of the scripts for 7 levels in the building of it, yeah.
Yeah, all these books intertwine, 7 levels, Atomic Habits, this one is just such a practical book. It's not really any kind of philosophy of, it's not exactly like 7 levels, but it's just having weapons in your arsenal to use with clients and to feel comfortable. Okay, Jack, let's go next one. Open-minded. Okay, if you were to ask a room of 1,000 people whether they considered themselves open-minded, I am sure at least 900 of them would raise their hands. Just about everybody thinks of themselves as meeting this criterion, and it's pretty easy to understand why. Because the alternative is closed-minded, right? Everybody wants to be open-minded and receptive. So when introducing a new idea, start with, how open-minded are you? This will naturally attract people toward the very thing that you'd like them to support. Everybody wants to be open-minded. So examples, how open-minded would you be to working with an experienced local agent to help you sell your home? That's a mouthful. But you know what I mean? That's a little much, but would you be open-minded to reducing your asking price? How open-minded are you to looking at something that could be perfect, but a little over your budget? Which I don't know if that's a good one.
Well, kind of like the may not be for you, but I kind of use something similar whenever my clients were priced, or qualified high, but they didn't want to be as high. But the house had like almost everything. I tell them like, I know it's beyond your budget where you want to be, but would you want to look at this house?
Well, and I think it's easier saying how, would you be open to, rather than, hey, I think you should, because then it's their idea, right? Instead of yours. This one, how open-minded are you to listing your property during the winter when there are fewer homes for sale, but still a lot of serious buyers? Might be one that people could do. Any other thoughts on that one? How you could use that one?
I think I'd use it if someone was saying they wanted to wait to spring to list
Yes.
because there's more, but like they're already thinking as of now, that's probably when you would use that script in a sense. To
Right.
get them to think of it sooner rather than waiting.
Right. And it doesn't have to be open-minded. It could be just like, are you open with, would you consider? These are all kind of the same way to say the same thing. Okay. Opening fact question. This is not a set of magic words. Instead, it is a framework that promptly, professionally, and with permission launches you into the heart of many an important conversation. So the framework that he's talking about, he says too many conversations could be clunky to get started, and the small talk is uncomfortable and off-putting for everyone involved. Yeah, I hate small talk. That's why I don't like going to networking, right? Because I don't want to talk to people that I don't know. So, because you have to make small talk with people you don't know, and that is so uncomfortable to me. And even though, because when you do networking, there's a lot of people that are there for different reasons. They're not all like real estate agents, When you go somewhere like the car convention, you could say to them, oh, how's the market in your area? Where are you from? But when you go to it, anyway, I just hate all those little small talks we do. It says simplifying a universal route into almost any conversation has you prepared to start from a position of confidence and avoid that nervous dance of an awkward opening. So there's 3 steps: a polite opening, a mutually agreeable fact, an easy to answer question. So that's what they say. Here are the examples. So if it was somebody inquiring on your listing, hi, it's Sarah calling from Downtown Realty. You recently showed some interest in blah, 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 West River. Is this the only property you're interested in? They also give one for sale by owner. Hi, it's Sarah. You may not know me, but I've sold a lot of properties in your area, and I have noticed you were looking to sell blah, 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 their address. Is this property still available? That's the one I kind of like, because I think, has anybody had luck with for sale by owners? No? No. Have you tried any, Louise?
No.
Has anybody online had any luck with for sale by owners? I can't see the chat, Jackie. I've never called a for sale by owner.
Said just once.
And what script did Jared use?
Can you unmute, Jared?
Good morning. Yeah, Harder was for sale by owner at first. 2 or 3 weeks with a sign in his front yard. He did get a realtor, and then after 6 months it expired, then I got it.
Did you call or did you not?
I Facebook Messenger, and it was only until it wasn't selling with his realtor he reached out to me. And I told him, hey,
Jared, he was a for sale by owner, and then he listed.
Yes, he was a for sale by owner, publicly marketed it through marketplace and whatnot. Even put that he's willing to pay a commission for the, quote unquote paperwork. So he's trying to avoid using a realtor. And after he couldn't sell it for 2 or 3 weeks, I did reach out to him. He didn't respond, but other realtors probably did. And he picked one and he just, real unreasonable expectation. And 6 months later it expired. Then I got it.
What did you say to him when you initially messaged him?
I just kind of told him, hey, Tyler, hey, I seen that you're put your house up for sale by owner. It's much more advantageous to list with a realtor. Would love to have a conversation with you and show you what I can provide. And, here's my phone number.
Yeah, I think for sale by owners are the hardest ones to approach personally. I hate it when I get a client who says, oh, there's this one that's for sale by owner, will you? And then you've got to call these people because it's almost a lose-lose, right? You're going to call. Well, if they don't agree to pay you a commission, your buyers are just going to go knock on the door anyway. They've already seen it. So that's a tough conversation. And a lot of them are, they really don't see the benefit of a real estate agent, and they don't.
But then it comes back to the first quote, never be fearful of rejection.
Exactly.
What about the buyer broker commission, if you have that sign and they go buy one?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Jim just said if we have the buyer broker representation form signed and they buy a for sale by owner.
You could go after you're not buyer for the
But I
money,
mean,
but.
if it's a client you have, you're gonna go
Are
after.
you gonna go after the client?
Commission, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't go after the seller. It's the buyer that has to pay you.
I mean, it's worth a phone call, right? Like, hey.
Yeah, you would.
Never be fearful of rejection.
So
Or
if.
You're fired.
My personal experience, anytime that I had the case where I had a buyer that saw it for sale by owner, most of the times when I called that for sale by owner, they were overpriced anyways, so my buyers
Yeah.
all said, we don't want it, let's just keep looking at these. So.
Yeah, I just thought that's an interesting legal wrinkle though.
Yeah, I mean, are they obligated if buying, is it saying only a property that's listed, or what if they buy a property?
Anything based off, if you were actively showing them, you were actively working with them and they buy something
Because remember, we have to
and
rate
put you out,
Yeah.
they are obligated to still pay you a commission.
Well, I guess it depends too on what type of agreement you signed, was it specific for the properties, for like you said?
Yes.
Specific time frame. Is it over that? But I think, yeah, if you're within that contract, technically, yeah, you can go after.
Yeah, I wonder, I would be very curious to see how many agents have actually sued a client yet. I mean, have you heard of anybody suing an agent suing a client? Because that's how you get paid. It's not like you go after the seller or the other agent. It's the buyer you have to go after.
And so like the one we had where we ended up having to call car legal on, like he said though too, was we had the case that the buyer had texted the agent saying, I don't want to work with you no more, and that agent never texted them back. So then, even though in their brain, they still had a rep agreement and they tried to challenge the one our agent got, technically, Carr said that buyer's still good because they engaged to cancel and there was no more communication. The buyer has grounds to, if they try to sue them for that commission, the buyer would easily be okay. And then the loophole was that agent had screwed up on how they filled out their BRBC anyways, so that buyer was clear.
So I got one story. This is JP,
Hey,
a little raspy voice, but I was going around the neighborhoods and I found a for sale by owner open house. And I went through it, and the guy was actually a realtor from out of the area, so he wasn't part of the MLS. So he was selling it for his sister, I think she was. And they were offering like $10,000 towards closing costs. And so I gave him my card and told him I'd try to list it if it didn't work out. But I called him back and they'd sold it. But anyway, I don't know how often that type of stuff happens with the for sale by owners, but that's one of my experiences.
I think that the majority of for sale by owners don't actually sell. I think they end up listing somebody.
Yeah.
But And I also have never heard of one doing an open house. That's new, but I guess they could, right?
Yeah, because I was touring open houses and then I came across these other signs and then I
Yeah.
just ran into it. So,
Yeah. Okay, so
Can you hear
on
me?
to the
This is
next.
Cindy Monson.
Who was that? Is it Cindy?
I think it's Cindy.
Yeah,
What happened?
yeah, I have one right now that is a for sale by owner. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Keep going.
I have one now for sale by owner. And I, the buyer called me and said there's.
Wait, now we can't
owner-
hear you, Cindy. We're hearing every other word.
Oh, no.
Cindy, we're hearing every other word.
Oh. Oh,
Try
I
it
stopped my
again.
car.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so I have for sale right now. So can't hear.
No.
Okay, forget. Okay.
Moving on.
Okay.
I think you're throwing out the window.
Stick your phone out the window, Cindy. Okay, what's the next one? Darn it, I wanted to hear what she had to say
Oh,
too.
no, because she got it.
She's
into
got
us.
one. Cindy, if you get to some place where you're not in a car, chime in.
We want to hear your success story.
Going back to JP's example, I forgot about this, but I actually closed one like that was for sale by owner. And the owner was an out-of-town agent that was not listed and that was not registered in this MLS. So they actually had shown, they had an open house. So I got there with my client but because he was an agent, he was open to paying commission. So that one was actually a pretty smooth transaction.
Yeah, I just think it's tough. I did get a listing from one that was a for sale by owner. And I'm sure every agent in this whole brokerage has spoken to this guy, and I did get his house actually
And showed him
listed
houses.
and showed him houses, everybody.
Nelson.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody has, and I did actually get his house sold, but man.
You can have it.
Because what Sarah said, I don't.
Oh, I
really
didn't
have
get
houses.
it listed. I didn't get it listed. I
No, you
brought
just brought the buyer.
I brought the buyer.
You sold him what he bought. But Janice Wilson had been doing an open house and she saw he had an open house sign out. He had put a cardboard box and then the little writer strip of open houses in there. So the box was his base to the little writer open house arrow.
My
Pointing
gosh.
out open house.
Oh, Nelson. Yeah, he's something.
I spent a month with that guy one day.
Yeah. Okay, what is your experience? So when people want to argue with you a little bit about things, it's okay to say like, what is your experience with selling houses? So you know where they're coming from, right? And it's not crappy. I mean, it's just, you can lead a conversation. What is your experience with selling houses? What is your experience with buying a new house? What is your experience with applying for a mortgage? Because you don't know if they're coming from a place of knowledge or just this is what they heard or this is what they guessed. So you can kind of start controlling the conversation and then get them to tell you what they know. You can uncover a lack of experience, right?
Sure.
So if they're saying, oh, if they're coming out with things, then you're like, well, oh, you can innocently ask you, it doesn't have to sound crappy. You know, well, oh, what's your experience? Or if you say, how many houses have you sold? It sounds crummy, right? But if you say something like, oh, what is your experience with selling houses? Then you'll see.
See, I like that because it's like, when I had those KG people where I couldn't figure out, like, sometimes it would show that they were knowledgeable, but then they would do certain things that made me feel they weren't knowledgeable, so I was unsure what to, like,
Right,
how to gauge them, but that would have been a far better way to ask the question.
right. That way you can kind of control the conversation. Okay, let's see the next one.
Next one.
How important is it? I like this one because we're trying to ask a lot of questions of clients, right?
There's a question.
Oh, we got a question.
Austin shared his choice.
What
His
is,
script.
Is that what's your experience with using a realtor in the past?
oh, that's a good one. Able to get their pain points and what is important to them when choosing a realtor. That is really good. Because that would be a good one to ask a seller. What is your experience with, because we don't know. Like they might be saying, oh man, I had the best agent in the world, but she moved. Okay, then they've had a good experience. Or, oh, if they had a crummy one, their defenses are gonna be up, right? Their walls are gonna be up, and what they're, like Austin said, what their pain points are. That's a great way to use that one. A great way. How important is it? So I like this one because I want to ask them, well, how important is it? You got to find out where, again, their pain points, right? Do they want to, when they're making an offer, do they want to ask for closing costs and retain cash, or do they mind having a little bit higher payment? Do they want to use a first-time home buyer loan program, but their interest rate's going to be a little bit higher? So you've got to find out how important, like, is it important to you to have a low interest rate? What is that noise? Sorry, guys, we have a weird noise happening here. How important is it to you to have a low payment? How important is it to you to retain? You just got to ask these questions. How important is it? So that you can clarify what their likes and dislikes are. How important is it that you sell your home quickly? How important is it that you have the extra bedroom? How important is it that you move before the holidays? All of these are super good questions to ask, because the more questions we ask, the better clarification we have from people. When I show a house, I don't say how important is it, but I'll ask them, what do you like and don't like about this house? Like, tell me, you're not going to offend me. It's not my home. What do you like about this, or what don't you like? So you can start clarifying what they like and don't like.
Austin talked a lot about last week about getting to know your clients really, really well when you first meet them.
Yep.
Because you'll have an advantage. You already have the thing that, what he said, pain points and the things that they're really looking for. Whereas some people just want to start showing houses.
Right. I agree. You can just start showing them houses, but you're going to waste a lot of time showing them things that aren't. And I think you can clarify that with them. Like, I'm really trying to understand what you want so that I can not waste your time and really show you what's going to work for you. Has anybody else ever used that or anything like that? How important is it?
I use more of, is it a deal breaker or not?
Yeah, same
That's
kind of
usually
thing.
what I'll do.
Yeah, priority list, what are the top things that you're looking for? What are your big likes and what are your big dislikes? Because I mean, even though location is such an important thing, I swear to God, I have clients that for the right house will even take a lesser location, where others are like, no, we're all about the location. Okay, Jackie, what's our next one?
How would you feel it?
Okay.
Use that one for.
How would you feel if? So the way I word it is a little bit different, but I say, would you regret it if we didn't make our best offer and we lost this house? How else do you guys use this? How would you feel? Gunnar, how do you use it?
How would you feel if the offer that got accepted was $5,000 more than what you guys are offering?
Right. Anybody else?
Even if in the sense of like request for repairs, if we're not coming to an agreement. How would you feel if we walked away? Like, is that what you wanna do?
Yeah,
Kind of.
that's a great idea.
I think that can help me in pricing, because we all know how to price. Difficult with pricing. But how would you feel if 6 months down the road, the house is still sitting there,
Right.
Great.
versus 20,000 less, and we get some serious action right away?
Right. Yeah. How would you feel? Would you regret it if we price the house too high and it sits and then we get no activity and you miss that sweet spot of the first 2 weeks of getting the best offers? Would you regret it? How would you feel? Because if you say that, how would you feel if we price it this high and it sits? Well, they're going to tell you, right? They may say, we don't care. We don't care. And then you've got to decide, do you want that listing or not? Because if they don't care And if they're only gonna accept an overpriced offer, do you really want to waste the time? You might want to see what their motivation is, and then it goes back to the other one of asking questions, right? Of what their motivation is to sell or not to sell. Okay, let's go.
Would it be possible?
Could it be possible? Let me find this one. I can't remember this one. Oh, I know how we talked about this one. So listen, could it be possible? I remember when we talked about this one last time. You meet with the seller and he says, oh, this other agent came in, he's $50,000 higher than you, than what you think the value is. Yeah, could it be possible that that agent's just trying to tell you a higher price so he can get the listing? That kind of thing. Could it be possible? Because it's okay to put that doubt in their mind. You're not accusing that other agent, right? It's not like, oh, they say, you know, that they did do this, like, oh, he's pricing it too high to get the listing. No, but could it be possible he's doing that? How about when an agent comes in and says, oh, I have a buyer for this listing. Oh, I've got a buyer for your house. And they think they're going to secure the listing, right? Then if you're the second agent, you can say, well, could it be possible that he's just using that to get the listing? Because honestly, whoever you list with, everybody has the ability to sell it for you. And I hate it when agents come in and I won't do it anyway. Sellers will ask me, do you have a buyer for this property? And I never will commit, even if I think I do. Because if you commit and say, oh, I think I might, then he's going to think, oh yeah, you're just low. You're giving me a low price because you've got a buyer already for it.
That's what he said. I've got some people looking in this range and I think this would be a great house, but.
Yeah.
Start showing right away.
Yeah. I just say something like, might have somebody for it, but there's a lot of other agents that might have clients as well. And we want to expose it to the market so you can get the most you can. That's what I feel. And then just let it go, because that is the most important thing. And then if I do have a buyer, I'll bring them over, but I don't want to base the listing on one buyer. And then it already starts it out bad. If I take my buyer and they're like, oh, we don't like it, then it's already going to start it out bad. So I never promise that, ever, ever, ever.
You have 130 people in your office that might be a buyer.
Yep. And I always tell them, look, the goal is to get the most money for you and not leave any money on the table. You know, that's what, so we want to expose it. What's that?
Okay, this is, JP says, I like to interview and ask a list of these type of questions and learn what their wants and the actual needs before I start looking for them. And if they need to work on their credit score and clean it up, as an example, and then I follow up every couple months to check on their progress.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Here's a good one. Could it be possible that if you receive no better offers and we find ourselves with an expired listing? So that would be if you are the listing agent and you get an offer and they don't even want to respond to them. Okay. Could it be possible that spending a little time and money on the staging might add thousands to the sale price? Oh, I'm going to say it. Carmelita. Staging. That's a good one for staging. Could it be possible that choosing us would be a better option for you? Could it be possible that I could get you more money for your home with fewer headaches and less stress than if you were to do everything yourself? I love that one. Could it be possible? You're not saying that, you're not accusing the other agent. You're not calling him out. You're just saying, just throwing that doubt out there. It's a little classier way than saying, oh, he's just saying that because he wants to get your listing. Okay, Jackie, it's our next one.
Help me understand.
Help me understand. Confusion can easily lead to confrontation, and confrontation can quickly escalate to an argument. We know that arguing with clients is bad, really. It's just that sometimes you don't see eye to eye. So instead of creating a conflict or telling somebody that you do not understand them, make your lack of understanding all your own fault. I like that one. Help me understand why you were thinking of listing with the other agent. Help me understand why you don't want to make any upgrades before selling. Help me understand what you have read that makes you think that. Help me understand your thought about the current market conditions. Be brave enough to approach an unreasonable response with a very reasonable question. I agree. Help me understand.
Why you're considering going with an out-of-town agent.
Exactly. So Luis just said, help me understand why you're thinking of going with an out-of-town agent. That's such a good one because you can hit them head on, whatever reason they're gonna have. Whatever reason it is, even if it's a lower commission, you're gonna say, yeah, but the goal, you can come back with all those objections, you can handle those very easily. Because what are their reasons gonna be for out of town? Lower commission. And you can combat that with, well, the bigger the pool of buyers, the more activity you're gonna have, you're gonna work your price up. Out of area, they're not a member of our MLS. People aren't gonna see it if they're on our MLS. Agents aren't gonna
And when
see
they're
it.
charging less, they're doing less work.
That's right. And if they can't even negotiate their own commission, how are they gonna negotiate an offer for you? What else would they say, Luis, for going with an out-of-town agent?
It's their family.
Yeah, relative or, well, I'm buying, in that market, so they wanna sell my
Right.
house here.
What would you say if they said it's family member?
I would circle back around to those points that you just made, yes, even though it's a family member. What if they don't see the big spectrum of what I'm looking at when it comes to the buyer pool here? And now if they're dead set on, hey, it's my brother's wife, the one that's gonna sell. Well, maybe, hey, what if we give her a referral, amount?
Yeah, I'll do all the work and she'll just, that's a good idea. Go back to the referral. Because they just don't understand, the out of area agents don't have the relationships with other agents like we do. Like if we're here and we're working and we know the agents, we can call agents. Hey, I'm getting this one, or this one's coming, it's a good listing. Do you have anybody for it? Or I know you showed mine on such and such with this one. I've got this one, it's very similar. Out of area agent.
Yeah, agents don't know the area, so how do you know if they're not pricing or not?
Right.
But it's worth,
Right.
are they familiar with the disclosures needed in this area?
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Help me understand. Help me understand
You
why.
tell them, like,
Next one, Jackie.
"Oh, man, it's been one of the-
We have 3 options.
That could be can you help me understand why dinner's not ready? That's what Jim says to his wife.
No, I
Can you
don't.
help me understand?
Can you help me understand why I'm sleeping outside?
Yeah. And after he said that, the next one would be,
Why is eating McDonald's?
yeah, can you help me understand? Okay, you have 3 options. Now, this again, some of these could come across as snarky, right? If I go, you've got 3 options here, like, talking to my kid, you're either gonna do the right thing, the wrong thing, or you're out of the house, or something like that. Of course, we're not going at it that way, but you can give them 3 options when they're doing things. Can you think of what they could, an example of how that would work?
I
Like,
don't think it's always negative. You have multiple offers on a property. Here's the way I see it. You have a few options here. Let's go,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think I would ever say you have 3 options, you've got a couple options.
Request for repair something, yeah.
yeah, a couple options might be a better way to say it.
I only used it when I was deadlocked on our request for repairs where we weren't getting
Yeah,
progress with the seller. Cause it was my good old flip.
so you can give them the options and then you could see out of these, which one's gonna be easier for you? Which one's gonna be better for you? I mean, there's a way of guiding people along without them really knowing that you are kind of manipulating or guiding a little bit more than you are. I mean, exactly like with the, when they get an offer, well, what do we do? Well, we have a few options here. You can just absolutely reject it.
You gotta keep them on pass.
You do. You do, and you've got to let them feel like they're a little bit the boss, right? You can't make, like, you can't do that. Well, you can, and you know, these are the options. This is the way you can do it. Like, you can reject it, we can accept it, or you can counter back. And then, you know, because there's a lot of them that as soon as they get an offer, they say, oh, we don't want that. They won't even respond. Well, as soon as you respond like that, because it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And so I always come back, well, we have a couple of options here. Why don't we talk about, you know, obviously you don't want to accept it, but we can counter back. Because as soon as you just reject something, you've bought your own house back at that point, right? There's no negotiation. And you don't know, they may just be testing. People get upset. Why are they, you know, when you get a low offer, why are they offering that? That's so ridiculous. And I'll just say things like, they're just testing a little bit. They're just trying to see what they can get you to do. Just show them. Is that a new one or is that the same?
That's the same one.
What does this say?
Jim might say you have.
We also devise sell from me. I will give you some barbecue aprons. Your options are buy or sell with me, or I'll give you barbecue aprons.
Who said that? JP?
JP.
All right, Jeff.
Good thought, JP.
I bet you're a bit like me. So I think that that goes along with mirroring, right? I bet you're a little bit like me, and you know, you want to kind of associate with them a little bit, right? Like, oh, I bet you're a little bit like me, and you know, you want the best deal you can get. Did somebody else just want?
Austin said something up there.
What did he offer?
No, above that.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, what does Austin say?
Okay, 3 options. I do in listing appointments. I draw 3 houses on a piece of paper. House 1, 0 offers. House 2, 1 offer. House 3, multiple offers. Which house would you want? Multiple offers option, they always choose. Well, in order to achieve this option, we need to price it in this price range to get as much traction as possible.
Unmute here, Austin. Talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah, I always, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm driving. That's why I was messaging. But yeah, I always do that in listing appointments when it comes to pricing and they're having any difficulty with that, pricing it lower. But I give them those 3 options, draw those houses on a piece of paper, and then it kind of just gives them clarity of, you know, why we're trying to price it at this price range and be as competitive as possible, especially in this market where it's pricing's everything nowadays. So it kind of makes sense for them seeing it on a piece of paper. I always draw things out in front of them. It just helps them understand, and they always choose. Obviously, they want multiple offers on their property, and it just kind of gives them that, you know, why we're trying to price at this price range.
Have you ever had anybody that like doesn't do the obvious, Austin?
I mean, I can't really think of a time where someone was like, no, we rather just have 1 offer or 0 offers. Obviously, I always choose that 3rd option. I mean, there's some that are still difficulty swallowing that pill of wanting to drop it lower, but
Right.
this is really helped me kind of get through to them on a piece. People see diagrams and they understand things better in my experience, like writing on a piece of paper in front of them. Just talking about it, sometimes it's less effective in my experience.
Because it's like it's unveiling itself.
Yeah.
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 They look stupid if they pick the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Austin. I bet you're a bit like me. So I think that's just about mirroring with people. Like, I think you're like me, or, oh yeah, I like that as well. I do that with people like, oh yeah, I love, what are you looking for? Oh yeah, I love that too. And see if you can relate to them somehow, because they feel more comfy if they're relating to you. What's the next chat?
Raquel said, just chimed off of Austin's and said, writing or drawing in a listing appointment is powerful and always memorable.
Yeah, I agree. And it feels very personal to them too. Yeah. Okay, what's our next one?
Slime. Don't worry.
Okay, so stress is so hard, right? And I think don't worry sounds very cheesy, but I think I say that to people. Because when I was going through these, I was like, oh, I say this all the time to people, like first time home buyers, don't worry, it's okay. And then I'll tell them why. or I've seen this before, don't worry.
Inspection.
Home inspection, don't worry, you're gonna get a report back that is gonna look like the house needs to be condemned. Don't worry, this is typical, this is their job. So I think those words, don't worry, it's showing them, I'm a professional, don't worry, I've got
The other
you.
one is after the initial, all the activity, don't worry, there's gonna be a lull and.
Yes.
There's gonna be some time where you're not gonna hear much.
Right, that's a good one,
There's
because
still activity going on behind the scenes and the lender and all of it.
yeah, because how many times if you had buyers, they're like, nothing's happening. What's going on? Well, that's how it's supposed to be right now. Like, but don't worry. Like Jim said, set the stage. Don't worry. Don't stress. You want to I take as much of the stress as I can. When I have issues that are happening, I try and have a solution before I call a client and tell them. I try and have a solution, and then eventually, this is what happened, but don't worry, I've checked it out and this is what we can do to correct this. Okay.
Most people.
Most people. He says this is responsible for most of his negotiating success than any other single strategy. Indecision is a major factor, what stops people from moving forward. So if you say most people want to be most people, right? I want to be most people. I don't want to be the one wandering, the one weirdo who didn't do it the way. Yeah. Exactly. Most people can go to lunch at Don Vino's and not get kicked out, except for that guy, right? You don't want to be that guy.
How about you,
What's that?
like, well,
Carrie, not
most of
Kate.
my successful clients or most successful listings have started just a tick low where you think the value is and generate some
Right.
activity.
Right.
I don't know.
That's a
Kind of
good one.
variation of that.
Yeah, most of my clients, most people that, when we've had the most success, most people have the best success or the best chance of getting their offers accepted. And so they feel like they're in with the group. Everybody wants to be part of a group.
Also, when you're trying to put in perspective whether or not they need to list their house first before they put an offer on another one.
Yes.
Well, most people would list it, get that on the contract and then go,
Yes, that's right. Most people would, and that is a better way to do it, especially in this kind of a market right now.
Mhm.
Because you have so much, you know how much money you have to work with, and you have more negotiating power if your home is already in escrow or having it. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, thanks for checking.
What makes you
What
say
makes you say that? So if they say. So somebody says, I don't like you. Well, what makes you say that?
Well, thank you.
that a lot.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but you get the I like you more, so you
So,
can't please everybody.
so instead of being confrontational with somebody, if they say something like, oh, you're just in it for the money, or, oh, you didn't take the time to do this, you could say to somebody, well, what makes you say that? What makes you say that? And I think that's a good one to say to people. Have you ever said anything like that to a client? Has anybody ever said that, Luis? Have you?
Yeah, not for that particular example, but it's right now, like, some of my buyers are like, well, we're gonna wait till summer when the interest rate drops. Well, what makes you say that? What have you seen that I haven't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's so many different ways you can use it. It's not necessarily that somebody's attacking you.
Right now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
always nice to say
Yeah.
expertise on interest rates.
right. What makes you say that?
for the market crash.
Yeah, yeah, what makes you say that?
We're waiting to March.
Yeah, how many of us have heard that? We're waiting for the market to crash.
Yeah.
Oh, what makes you say that? Like, what information do you have that I don't have that make you think this market's gonna crash? TikTok, yeah. Yeah, and then if they say they're getting all their info from their friends on TikTok, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Like, so why didn't you buy the last crash?
Yeah,
2008.
Cause you were waiting for the interest rate to drop to 1%.
That's
And
right.
that's cool too, I would tell them, it's like, hey, back then, also, like, if you waited, the interest rate go down, because that's what they wanted. But then the value of the house goes up, 100,000, 200,000 over of what you were able to pay right now, so.
Okay.
I always tell them,
Next
you're gonna pay anywhere between 30 to 50, possibly $60,000 in
Oh, yeah.
upfront costs and right now.
That's right. I mean, and all these buyers are gonna flood back into the market, and then you're gonna be doing appraisal gap guarantees.
That's the last one.
That was the last one? Okay, so that was it, guys. There's a lot more in this book, but I would say grab this book, and there's a field guide in here, which is really cool. It gives like expireds, it gives type, it gives moments, it gives examples and the words to use. I think that, and I mean, it's like, I'm not ready to relist for an expired. Most people in your situation feel the same way. They believe their home is never going to sell, but I can prove to you that you can sell your home for a price you'd be happy with. It's just an interesting little tool to use. So it's called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. So you can get it on Amazon. It's fairly cheap. If you want to come, we have one here. You can read through, make copies, do whatever you want with it. I think what I'm going to start doing
There's
is
one at each office.
there's one at each office. I think with our trainings, I'm going to throw out one phrase each training, and then we're going to talk about it and go through it. So, okay. Next week is office meeting.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, next week is office meeting, and then the week after that, Chris Webb is going to train on how to get your buyer's offer accepted. Because Chris is really good at negotiating and getting his buyer's offers accepted. So, all right, guys.
Beer vouchers.
Oh, yes, beer vouchers. So if you guys want beer vouchers, I got 40. Jackie's already had them made up for me because the 15th, you've got 2 weeks now. We better start hitting it and inviting people to our beer. Cheers for clients.
Here's your clients. So reply to the email, double check that they're accurate, and then reply for them to be printed. Or send me a text, and then at which point you have consented to approving what was sent to you.
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Because if Jackie did it, and there's a typo, you chose to not review. Jackie's dyslexic. What's it called? Birthday party.
Oh, yes. So our birthday party is going to be May the 31st, and we're going to have axe throwing, cornhole.
Is this before the drinks or after the drinks?
Spin.
You're drinking water.
Yeah, you got to take a shot before you throw the axe. And we're going to have dinner. So, and cake, and I don't know what else, but it's going to be fun. So May the 31st, it's a Saturday, 6 o'clock down here.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. It's mine and Jackie's birthday party.
May 31st.
Side note too, additionally, Sarah has been bringing in sourdough breads. If you want any, let us know. But also charitable contribution, if you'd like to make a donation, Paw Estates is where Sarah would like you to make donations to.
Because I've had people try and pay me for the bread. I don't want to be paid for the bread. If you feel like you want to do, you don't have to. I don't care. I make it because I want to give it away. But if you feel like you want to do something, give it to me and I'm going to give it to Paw Estates. I'm going to donate everything because.
Same case with for Sarah's birthday presents, donations for Paw
Yes,
Estates.
I don't want any gifts. If
Jackie takes Legos.
Jackie wants Legos, I want donations for Paw Estate. There you go.
Collection, you got everything.
That's what I'm just kidding.
Next 10 years.
Heck no, 10 months.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow if you guys ain't got nothing going on.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo.
We'll be at the Tachi Palace from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
All day?
All day.
Is that a marathon performance session?
We're just gonna be walking around, so we'll see. I'll see how much walking I can do.
Do you get to take breaks?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we're doing 10 to 12, 1 to 3, 5 to 7, and 7 to 9.
wow. You're gonna be tight.
May is all.
Yes.
We should have him perform for our birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. And Matt Bailey can perform too. And I see Bree Burgos has a new song coming out.
Yes.
Yes.
Bree Burgos.
What kind of?
I don't know.
We have a karaoke night.
Yeah, we do. Maybe we should do karaoke night with the birthday.
Okay, who's in charge of bringing the stuff? And where we setting up?
Well, Matt Bailey can bring stuff because when we ended up doing that at the palace, it was all Matt's stuff.
All right, we'll bring out all our singers. And we got Evelyn too as a singer. The new one.
Oh, she's a singer too.
Mhm. She went on like some singing competitions. She went on a Spanish one called Tengo Talento.
American Idol.
No, I don't know what the English, the American one was, but she went to two.
Yeah. We got some good singers. We do have some good singers.
And then Blanca's husband.
Blanca's husband,
Greg's
Wes,
wife.
Greg's wife, Matt Bailey.
And
Gunner.